let's move on to our next topic.
Yep.
I'm gonna go with my topic. My topic is basically questioning the fact that medium is middle class. Is there still a middle class, and is our perception of what a middle class is to be obtainable by what we perceive to be? Does that make sense? Like, I consider myself middle class. Great. Do you consider yourself being able to obtain the things that you would be able to obtain as a middle class by definition? And I think there's a disconnect. I think that we think people who are middle class, like, oh yeah, I get a certain amount of income, I'm considered middle class, but I don't think what you're consuming or what you need to be middle class is necessarily in alignment, right? I think there's actual quite a bit of a gap between income and what you need to just survive. I'm not even talking about like I want to go on like a bunch of vacations and I want a really nice car. I'm talking about just surviving.
The minimums. Yeah.
Exactly. So this is going to have a couple different phases. I have a couple researches strewn out between Forbes and Redfin and a bunch of other stuff of like where these numbers are coming from in terms of averages. Okay. But I'm basically going to want to cross-reference a checklist of what you guys perceive to be needs on a monthly basis, and I'm going to throw out averages and just tell me if it sounds about right. We'll create this list, and it's going to basically produce a total of annual income that a middle-class person would need in order to achieve all these. And my hypothesis here, this is so interesting, I know people are going to not be bored at all, is that that the middle-class person that we perceive is not getting the income they need to be in the middle class.
I agree with that, yeah.
So, a couple figures. Yeah, just go ahead, Ian.
I'm going to put a point in here. When I was going to school, I went to school for finance, and I had a great teacher who does big like seminars and everything. And he said like his quote all the time is, "It's not how much money you make; it's how much you spend." That is where it creates it. I mean, you can make $1 million, but if you're spending $2 million every year, guess what? You're poor.
So traditionally, what you would do is build your expenses based off how much income you're having. But what I'm doing, we're going to work a little bit backwards, right? Because we're trying to figure out solving a problem here. So what I've found is that the median income is on average $75,000 in America, and what middle class is defined as is making $135,000 a year for a household. And this is, I'm going to put for a family of 4. $135,000. This is between the two household heads, or one, whatever, like with 2 kids. This is also, I'm not putting in pets, but we can always do that. So let's go down the line. Let's get this started, and then let's see if this actually, like, if you make $135,000, can you hit all of the major expenses per month, or can you not, right? I would say if $135,000 is it's just interesting if that's actually how much money that people believe middle class should be making or to be middle class. Obama and Mitt Romney.
I think that there's a lot that are not middle class then, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think a lot that aren't classified as middle class. So I would say that my household wouldn't be considered a middle class as of right now. I mean, working towards that, yes, but as of right now, full income is not 135 yet.
Right.
And we've got a 4-person household, then I guess you would say, right?
Yep.
Because we've got 2 kids and then two parents, and we are making ends meet, but they're not near what 135 would be able to meet. You know what I mean?
And what's interesting,
or at least ways we'd be able to improve our life.
What's even more interesting is that Obama and Mitt Romney back in 2012, when they were debating, they had stated that $200,000 to $250,000 is middle class.
Yeah, because these people come from a different world. They don't live in this. They don't live where we live. You know what I mean? They don't experience what we experience, so they don't have a clue what really is middle class.
And this is actually inspired by an NPR story about 2 teachers who worked in close to a city area who really couldn't even afford to fix their car and amongst other expenses, like buy a house. And so I snarked at Steve's comment where it was like, millennials just don't buy anything. It's like, I think they can't buy things because people are assuming that you get out of college, you start working, and then you go into this middle class, right? But if people can't even buy a house because of what we're about to do in this exercise, then that pretty much makes sense as to expenses are way too high for a competitive, highly volatile income.
Here,
industry.
I was gonna say, here's an article I read real quick,
yeah.
Okay, and this puts it in a perfect light. So back in the late '80s, okay, what you were making in the late '80s for salary-wise, the average income is pretty much exactly the same for what it is today, except for everything else has inflation and costs a lot more. But the value of what people are making, how much they're actually making, is exactly the same. So people back in the late 80s, the early 90s, those individuals, those generations were making the same amount of money we're making today, but their money went farther, so they had a lot more value with their money, so they lived a better lifestyle, were able to get different things that they wanted, so that middle class was there because the middle class, that amount of money was going further and further and further because of its value. But today we're making the same exact money, but the dollar doesn't go nearly as far, so that middle class bar raises up even way higher to be able to be classified as the middle class, I guess you'd say. And people are working just as hard, working the same 40 hours a week, making the same amount of money, but the money's not going nearly as far.
So that's absolutely the crux of the problem. But but it's easy to it's easy to see that. But I think once we go into these details, I think it's going to be very, very clear about like just how bad it is, right? So let's start with mortgage rent. I looked up on Forbes the average mortgage rent for like a 2-bedroom is $1,500 a month. Which I think is pretty generous, right? And I'd say we all agree on that, right?
I agree with that.
I guess I'm weird. Yeah,
I'm weird.
1,500. I guess for a family. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, but like a mortgage, $1,500 for a mortgage is you can get a pretty decent place. That's a pretty nice amount of money.
It depends on where you live. Okay, so if you're obviously in the Northwest, like these guys are, that's not going to really get you anything. If you're down in Georgia, that'll get you a pretty nice place.
Right.
$1,500.
Right, and that's why it's averaged, right?
But my apartment, which was a 2-bedroom apartment, by the way, which was only 930 or 1,000 square feet, was $1,100. So
right.
Okay.
I mean, that's, I think, reasonable.
All right. So there's a ton of issues, tons of topics. Let's see if we can just get to them really quickly.
Okay.
So food is averaged. I think it was like the consensus, whatever. It's average as $556 a month for food, on average.
That's about right.
So utilities for a 915 square foot place is $146. So power, water, trash, sewer, $146 a month.
I pay probably around 200.
For 900 square feet. For 900 square feet.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a pretty small place.
Yeah.
For a house.
So this is also interesting because if any one of us are like, I'm spending way more on that, I think it might be educational because Steve, maybe you have water running for too long or whatever.
Yeah, well,
you should look into that.
Water bill is $123, and
Holy
like electric's
shit!
like,
No way.
Yeah, the electric's like probably around the same thing.
Leak, bro.
Yeah, you should look into that. So that's
Like,
really
Yeah,
no
that
joke. 'Cause
water's way too
I
high.
like run water like crazy at my place. It's not even nearly as much as that, dude. Not even close. And I mean, I'm like watering huge lawns and gardens and all that good stuff.
All right, let's keep going. Home car insurance, $157 for one car and a home a month. State Farm,
Man,
on
man.
average, $157 for.
This is just the insurance or the actual
Insurance.
vehicle as
Actually,
well?
that's,
No. The car's insurance a month
Okay.
combined with home insurance.
That's
Gotcha.
fair.
Internet is on average $51 a month for internet.
Yes.
That's about right.
Medical insurance on average $414 a month for family.
What the fuck? That's insane.
For
No, that's
family.
about right.
That's
a
about
month?
right, yeah.
For family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Damn.
This is
if
so
you're a
good. I love
family,
these reactions
a month.
because like you don't
Yeah.
think about it.
Yeah.
You're like
Jeez.
TV a month on average now. This is probably not going to apply to us. $123 a month for a TV
Holy
package.
shit.
Go back to
Yeah,
our
I
old.
pay $185 a month.
Go listen to our old episodes. Half of us only stream. I don't even have a cable bill. I
Right,
just
me
pay
neither.
Yeah,
it.
but why? Why again? Because what he's talking about. right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're going to keep
Ridiculous.
going. Phone on average $148 a
Yeah.
month for phone
I'm
bills.
paying
And
more
I think
than
that's on the yeah, exactly, Steve. Because I'm definitely using conservative values.
I'm about 180 for the family.
Right.
I'm like 220.
So now this is I'm gonna add some more math here. If you want a new car, a car lasts about 8 years, right? If you want to get an average price of a new car, it's gonna cost you $16,800 for a new car that lasts every 8 years. If you have 8 years to save for that, you're gonna have to save $175 a month to prepare for a new car that you're gonna buy. That's on average. If you want a second car, that's another $175 that you're gonna add on that. And I've done, if optional, I'll show you the total. Gas, $100. This is assuming you do not have a pickup, an SUV. This is assuming you're
Or
on
that
the
you don't drive for
Prius
your
hybrid
job.
Yeah.
side.
Well,
so again,
I-
conservative
I-
numbers.
I do 350, 400 in gas just because of I do that for my job.
Yeah.
I drive.
Yeah.
You know.
Child care. This is for 2 kids. Remember, family of 4. $972. No, that can't be.
Yes.
That's insane.
That sounds right. No,
It
that
should
sounds
be-
right.
No. Yes. That is exactly what it is.
No, it should be more actually.
Wait, how much are you saying?
For
900 what?
childcare, it should be way more. It should actually be close to 1,500 for one kid.
No.
I forget where I got this. This is on average. I'm sorry,
It's
because I
about
live in
1,000
Northwest.
for
So
one
this is average $972 for childcare a month.
Okay, if that's the case, mom and dad, be prepared to watch my kids.
Yeah.
No, that's exactly what's happening with me, dude. That's exactly what's happening. Because if that was the case, then we can't have dual income. We have to have somebody else to break away to be able to do it because childcare costs so much that it's like,
That's
might as
insane.
well not be working.
So we're halfway through,
Instead.
and we've already accumulated almost $3,000 for monthly expenses. Mm-hmm. And this is needs now. This is like for
Just
the most
needs.
part needs, right? I think you need a phone at this point.
Well, you don't need cable.
Okay,
I mean,
fair point. Yeah, you don't need cable. Home maintenance, on average, through taxes, dues, just keeping up, you're gonna have to save $1,421 a month to mow the lawn, do like random stuff, repair things, replace things, paint.
That's a lot a month.
It's a lot a
Yeah, I
month
don't-
on average for a home.
Like what you would spend over the entire year,
It's,
though, kind
it's
of deal.
basically 1% of the sale price is how much you would be spending a year to put back
Keep
into the
maintenance
home.
up on your house.
And that equates to about 14.
yeah, I had a $10,000 day on my house, so.
Yeah,
and then,
exactly.
right, and
That's
that,
what- yeah.
that could eat you the whole year.
And that's what he's saying, where he's you can divvy that up, obviously,
yeah.
across the 12 months, and then
exactly.
yada yada.
Car
Or-
maintenance, $920
A month?
A year.
a year.
Okay.
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 That's a
That's
year.
shit.
Yeah.
Well, I'm dropping 2,500 right now.
Yeah, no, sorry, that's a month.
You guys are
because
stressing me out right now.
that could be a month because you're
I'm
gonna have
sitting
to.
here thinking about
No, that can't be a month. That's a year.
Can't be a month.
Yeah.
You really think though? You're like, man, I'm poor because
Yeah, but I'm dropping
this is
25.
already
I'm
over what
well,
I
I'm
make.
already
a month.
thinking. I'm already thinking about what I make and what Amber makes. I'm sitting there thinking, there's no fucking way we can live on our own and be happy. There's no way. I mean, we guess we can be happy, but like we won't be able to do anything.
If you don't stress about money, you can be happy.
Oh no,
Like,
that's what I said.
that means,
you can be
I mean,
happy,
even if you
but
have
you
like
won't be able to
the
do
ends
anything.
aren't meeting and you just don't cause stress about the idea, then you'll be fine. But most people can't do that.
Yeah.
So,
Honest.
so is it still averaging about $3,000 every month?
No, we're not even there yet.
No, he's not finished yet.
Yeah. I had a statistic that backed this car thing up, and I can't find it right now.
Okay.
I'll look into it. I don't know where I found it, or I gotta find
Okay,
it.
well,
All
I
know-
would say
all I know
that-
is that the kid thing dramatically changes when they get older though, because you're no longer buying toys anymore. You're just buying clothes, and then they don't think materialistic. Like the girls, like I remember the Christmases dramatically changed. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
as far as what they need and as much stuff as they need and everything like that, it's dramatically changed too.
Is it more expensive when they're older?
No. It's
No,
less.
I would think it'd be
Really?
less
Was
too
it good?
because then you don't have that child care bill either because they're going if they're going to public school, that's also free. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's like you're not having to pay for that bill either. Like he was just saying they don't buy the toys anymore, which toys really are crazy expensive. Like
Yeah,
$50
they
a toy. Like everything costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then he's
And
saying
they're
that
not-
they just buy clothes at this point.
And they're not boys, so it's like they're not into really electronic things or
Right.
like
Think
like everything's like a $50 game or something like that. You know what I mean?
Okay,
So-
I'll have to find this statistic. I apologize. I was hoping I would have everything just back
all
up.
good.
But, and then home supplies, $65 a month. This is for cleaning products, laundry, stuff like that.
Makes sense.
Retirement, if you want to be able to
Yeah,
retire
exactly.
based on this salary that it's providing,
No.
like if you're going to be able to retire and still have to be able to have these expenses, right? Basically, have your annual income through retirement. You're going to have to save $1,550 a month in order and put that into 401k in order to live this life without working.
Yeah.
With Social Security being
so
added to you.
one thing real quick, a tangent real fast. I read another article that said the millennials are actually going to have to save somewhere between $2.5 million for retirement, and then that could possibly go up to $3 million for retirement for millennials.
That's what this averages
because
out
of
to.
inflation of the dollar right now.
Yeah, when you retire, you have about $2 million, and that's going to last you for the rest of your life. And that
So
will
just
give
live
you
this
your
same
annual-
lifestyle. That's it. Just to keep perpetuating the same lifestyle.
Right.
That's it.
Correct.
Nothing better. Just the same.
I went really low on dining out, $100 a month. Maybe that's like one. That's one outing. Maybe two.
That's
if you
actually for me and my wife. It's higher. Her and I were actually talking about that the other day. We are lazy sometimes, just like, oh, let's get this and
Yes,
just
that's
order.
Bro, the way that I work, I spend probably $10 every day on fast food type of foods because I'm
Right.
out on the road constantly.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
every day, at least one of my meals is like $10.
Yeah, Amber came home the other day and was like, "Do you know how much I spent in like Chick-fil-A in the last
Yeah.
2 weeks?"
Yeah, exactly.
She's like, I spent almost $200 the last 2 weeks. She's
Whoa.
like, we got to stop doing that. She's like, and I'm like,
But
I
it's
completely
real.
agree.
It's a real
I
thing. It
completely
totals up.
agree.
So,
Yeah.
sorry,
Even
I'm
my
gonna keep
Red Bull
going.
addictions, right?
Yeah, keep going,
Average
sorry.
cost. Okay, so now college. If you want your kid to go to an average cost college, it costs, as of right now, $25,000 a year to bring your kid to an average cost college. In order for you to hit that, if you started saving the moment they were born, that gives you 18 years. You'd have to save for 18 years $462 a month.
So you got that right, Clay?
Yeah,
You doing that?
we're
You doing
trying.
that?
Emergency money. This is if you lose your job, if something crazy happens, if you have to take an emergency flight to attend a funeral. This is saving, what they say is 6 months worth of your income. So that would have to, you're saving $250 a month. This is just kind of like an average thought process that would continue. Vacation. An average 1 year, like one vacation has an average, and it equates to $381 a month for you to take a $4,000 vacation a year.
Jeez.
Spending.
Yeah, but I didn't want to do that.
This is just random spending. You might have gifts to attend for a party. You might have to like buy some
lot
stuff
of
for
birthday
like
parties.
whatever. You might want to like get some clothes. $350 a month that you have to save. So this totals to $118,000
A year.
a year. Now we said you'd have to make $135,000, but that's before taxes. So
Yeah.
you go to paycheck calculator, right? And I say, okay, in the state of Washington, if I have an annual income of $135,000, and my biweekly gross pay is $5,000, my federal withholding is $455, my Social Security withholding is $310, my Medicare is $72, my 401k, like we mentioned, would be putting in $1,500. That leaves me with $2,612 every biweekly. I did the quick math, and that only equates to about where did I put that? $70,000.
Yeah, exactly.
$70,500.
Yeah, you're missing the mark by like $40,000.
Yes. Yep.
Yep.
So, it is. I believe that it is wrong to assume that $135,000 is your middle class, because we're just trying
So
to get
they're
a kid
right.
to
It's
college.
$200,000 to $215,000 nowadays, or whatever the hell.
And
they
that
say.
is for your kid to go to an. These are averages. This is to
Yeah.
have an average grocery, have an average phone pay, have an average kid to be childcare, average college. This is just to be average. And so when I hear things like, well, the millennials, they're not doing it. Well, it's because the average income that we're getting is nowhere near what is perceived to be the average amount of expenses a person has to do. So it is completely
Well, that's what I was
in
saying.
line- not in alignment.
Also, I was saying that's what they're saying. The millennials ruin the economy because they're saving. They're
just
too
trying to
afraid
keep our
do
head
it,
above
'cause
water.
We're just trying to save, so we're not spending because we're like trying to survive. That's
Right.
that's the whole thing. But like they're blaming us because we're not spending money because we're hard to pander to. It's not about pandering. It's about trying to fucking survive and shit like that. You
This-
know what I mean? It's not.
You know what the argument I always hear about the millennials is that we're an entitled group.
I
And
do want
that
to go
one
into.
drives me.
So I don't want to touch too much because I want a topic about why people hate millennials, and I want to go into that. But I'm connecting the millennial finance really quick with that.
Okay.
But yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Oh no, I
four
was
times.
just saying three. The garbage man again.
Oh,
So
yeah.
real quick, this is also not including any pets. This is not including any.
Hey, so
yeah.
I have a question for you. What was the, like, back in, say, 1985, what was the, middle class number annual salary at that point kind of deal?
It
You know what I
was-
mean? Did we
it-
have a number somewhere?
Yeah, it
around
was
that-
like 50. I want to say it was like
70,000?
45,000 or 51,000.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. So it's like it went from 50,000 in like the 80s to now the 2016 it went to $200,000. I mean, that's what people don't actually see.
Yeah,
We
you're
are
totally right.
not freaking making the same amount of value. We're not making the same amount of money for the same exact shit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're,
it's like
you're 100% right.
not okay.
So the real gross domestic product, total all ages including armed forces, blah blah blah, it has risen. I don't know what these numbers translate to, so I'm not going to actually read this graph. But there's a bunch of graphs out there that you can Google that will show you the basically the line looks like this from like 1990. Basically, this is the income that you're getting, and this is the expenses, and it goes like.
Yeah,
It goes like
exactly.
that. And so the middle class is shrunk to an unbelievable, unrealistic, like, you can't even get into middle class at this point. So
Yeah.
it really sucks. So people think you're middle class. You're
Yeah.
actually lower class.
Yeah, that one happened to me when I went to the tax guy recently too as well, because they like once you hit the certain threshold in the amount of money you make where you think you're starting to get into the middle class, they like hit you with this new tax bracket that just kills you and slams you right back down to the lower class. And
Yeah,
you're like,
so-
oh, but I wasn't leaving out of lower class anyways. You just knocked me farther into lower class.
Well,
Like,
totally. So if
Yeah.
you're making $135,000 a year and you're marked as married and federal taxes come out, you're only really making $70,000 a year.
Yeah,
7.4.
exactly.
So half,
Listen to this, guys.
basically.
Yeah.
The average pay during the 80s, when I'm guessing where most of us were born, minimum wage was $3.30 an hour. And in the 1980s, and the salary was around $17,000, and the median household income.
Yeah, but they had like sub $1 gas and shit. So
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at
was
15
cheaper.
cents, like $1.23 for a gallon of milk, like
Yeah.
15 cents for stamps.
Yeah.
But jeans, listen to this, jeans were $50 though. Isn't that crazy? I
Just
don't know.
because it was the 80s, baby. The
I
jeans
guess,
companies
and
were trying to
Atari
take
was
advantage of
Everything was
$140. And Atari was
everything was
$140. That's crazy.
Oh yeah, we forgot to put on their gaming expenses. That's definitely
Yeah.
Oh
something
yeah,
that
you
we
can put
need.
that in.
No, that was about the miscellaneous $350 he was saying.
Yeah,
that
spending. So
you
give
get-
stuff that you want to spend yourself. Yeah, and that's split between 4 people. So that's not even $100 per person.
So it's not realistic. This idea of budgeting is not a realistic idea. It's like
That's
you're
why
throwing everything
have
out there and trying to
things.
survive. So good luck.
That's right. You gotta have dinks.
Gotta move
This is why
to
we're also
Canada.
probably
Gotta be
seeing the
dinks.
rise in dinks. Like,
Yeah,
just,
it's kind of nice to be dinks.
yeah. So anyway, I wanted to just wrap that up. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure we all came to the same consensus. It's mind blowing.
Yeah.
Steve, check your fucking water. Let's move on to our next topic, Steve.
Check your fucking
Throw us
Oh, I was like, I got
He's
plenty
like,
of water.
what?
I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
your water bill, bro. Your
My
water
water,
bill.
seriously. No, honestly. I need to check